Forget the romantic trail songs and tall-tale myths. The real West was a hostile place, heat that split leather, storms that swallowed herds, and nights that froze a rider stiff before dawn. What kept men moving wasn't luck or bravado. It was battered iron, rawhide, good steel, and the small tools carried every day. These were the items that fixed a broken saddle at midnight, that started a fire in driving rain, that saved a horse from lameness and the rider from a long walk home. No accessories, no props. Just the rough, honest implements that turned a strip of leather and a few feet of rope into a whole life. Today we cover 10 tools real cowboys guarded like their last heartbeat. Tools whose failure meant you didn't last long. Tighten your cinch, hat low. Let's begin at number 10. Number 10, Iron Fire Striker and Flint Kit. A spotlight on the simplest life-saving kit, a hardened steel striker, a chunk of sharp flint, and a pouch of charred tinder. On the trail, matches soaked and lightning spit out sparks. A striker set was a cowboy's guarantee that he could coax a flame from the bones of the prairie. The striker was a small bar, hardened and curved to sit in the palm, so a crisp scrape against flint produced hot showers of sparks. Those sparks hit char cloth, shaved cedar, or rawhide curls that had been prepared and kept dry in leather pouches. Men learned to shelter the spark behind the saddle, cup the ember, and coax it until flame took. Then build the fire into a hearth big enough to dry clothing, boil water, and stew beans. Freight ledgers and store inventories list these kits cheaply, but journals show they were priceless. Stories of men saved from freezing nights by a shared ember recur across drive reports. When a fire kit was lost in a stampede, a man's chance of survival plunged. A Nebraska journal notes one rider who nearly froze after losing his striker. Artifacts survive in tiny prairie museums, scorched leather pouches and bright steel edges worn smooth by a lifetime of pulling a spark to life. Number 9, tin cup and bean pot. Nothing glamorous, a thin tin cup hung on a saddle horn and a small heavy pot that sat low in the coals. Yet without a way to boil water or heat food, a cowboy grew weak and sick in days. The tin cup was hammered from thin sheet metal so it was light enough to carry all day and tough enough to survive weeks of use. The bean pot, usually cast iron or heavy tin, held coffee, salted pork, beans or biscuit dough, and turned them into a hot meal that sustained a rider between grueling miles. Supply invoices for outfits list cups and pots among first-line supplies because cooks could stretch rations and prevent disease by boiling water. Trail diaries are full of the small practicalities. Morning coffee gulped straight from a dinged rim to stay awake on night duty. Stew bubbling while riders checked cinches. A pot that softened hardtack and made it edible. When a cup or pot was lost, consequences were immediate. One Texas journal blamed 3 men laid up from drinking unboiled water because the outfit's cook lost his pot during a crossing. The battered cups and pots you see in county collections are blackened, dented, and essential. The basic tools that kept men standing and thinking straight on the trail. Number 8, stitching awl and thread kit. Leather fails often and fast. A torn rein, a split cinch, or a ripped saddle skirt can throw you head over heels, and often did. That's why every rider carried an awl, needles, and waxed thread, a tiny field kit that could rebuild leather at the firelight. The awl itself was a hardened steel spike set into a wooden grip, sharp enough to pierce saddle skirts, rawhide, and thick harness. With waxed linen and a couple of needles, a cowboy could stitch a torn raincoat, repair a cinch, or reattach a stirrup strap in minutes. Outfitters sold repair irons by the dozen, and trail bosses insisted on them as standard issue. Field accounts described riders hunched by coals, forcing needles through stiff hide while herds bedded down. The difference between having an awl and not could be dramatic. A Montana note recounts a man dragged because a saddle skirt ripped free when his repair kit had been lost. Surviving awls in ranch sheds bear smooth handles and battered tips, tools shaped by repeated emergency use rather than polish. The stitching awl is a quiet reminder that, on the frontier, survival often meant being able to put leather back together before the next sunrise. Number 7, hoof tools, pick and farrier's knife. A cowboy's mount was everything. A lame horse could strand a man in days. That's why hoof tools, a pick to clear pebbles and a curved farrier's knife to pare the sole, were core kit. Hoof picks were simple iron hooks forged locally. Farrier knives had hooked blades to pare away bruised soles and trim overgrown hoof wall. Riders used them every morning before the herd moved and every evening after miles over rock. A pebble lodged just wrong could bruise a frog, and create a limp that grew into infection. Trail accounts describe stopping mid-ride to remove a stone the size of a walnut, sometimes while the herd thundered on. Supply houses bundled picks, nails, and rasps for trail repairs because the alternative, walking behind the herd for miles, was unacceptable. The pitted blades and dark handles in old ranch collections speak to constant use. Their owners reshaped, sharpened, and relied on them daily. A story from 1878 tells of a rider stranded half a day after his mount stepped on flint. Without a knife to trim the damaged sole, he could not keep pace. In short, keep hoofs clear and you keep moving. Miss that and the rest of your kit hardly matters. Number 6, belt knife. The belt knife is the everyday tool that does everything. Slicing rope, cutting leather, prying, skinning, chopping. A cowboy rarely rode without one on his hip because too many jobs depended on a sharp, dependable blade. These knives varied. Store-bought Sheffield blades shipped through port towns, or field-forged blades hammered from old files. But all shared a sturdy spine and a heavy edge to handle hard work. Cowboys cut hobble straps by moonlight, sliced tangled rope in a wreck, split kindling, and used blades to free animals or partners. Users sharpened and cared for them constantly because a dull knife is dangerous. It slips and tears instead of slicing clean, turning a fix into a disaster. One trail note tells how a man's stirrup strap was cut in time by a partner's belt knife and saved him from being dragged. Surviving ranch knives show blades worn thin from years of resharpening and handles scarred from heavy use. No polish, no decoration, just relentless practicality. Plenty of trail bosses insisted a sharp belt knife saved more men than bullets because it solved problems before they became emergencies. If this background is useful, hit like and answer the pinned question, which tool would you never ride without? Short answer only. I read every comment. Number 5, lariat/rope. The lariat is the tool that keeps the whole operation working. It catches animals, hauls the stuck, drags logs, and controls beasts when herds panic. Most ropes were braided hemp or rawhide 30 to 40 feet long with a hand-tied hondo loop. Some men bought them ready-made. Many fashioned and treated their own until the fibers held the right stiffness. A good rope was a lifeline. It brought down calves for branding, pulled wagons free from mud, and rallied a panicked animal before it trampled men in gear. The failure of a lariat could be catastrophic. A snapped line at the wrong moment could throw a man to the ground or let a brawn run. Trail reports describe ropes frayed halfway across their length after days of hard pulls. One New Mexico report recounts a cowboy thrown when his lariat broke mid-throw and subsequently sidelined for days. The hondo, shaped by repeated throws, is often still visible on old ropes in ranch collections. Lariats look ordinary, but they are crafted tools of timing, weight, and rhythm. A skilled thrower could save the herd and his pay in the same motion. Number 4, branding iron. A brand is proof. A branding iron is the tool that made property mean something on the open range. Forged to a ranch's mark and heated in the coals, the iron would be pressed to a calf's hide and leave a permanent symbol registered locally. Blacksmiths bent iron rods into letters, loops, forks, and distinctive shapes. Those symbols settled disputes when cattle drifted and prevented wholesale rustling. The job was brutal. Hold a wriggling calf, drive the hot iron, then step away. Stories from roundup season are full of singed gloves, scorched sleeves, and lungs thick with smoke. But a herd without a clear brand was up for grabs. Poorly applied or altered brands sparked violence. An 1881 roundup note describes a near gunfight after 2 overlapping brands were found on a single animal. The irons surviving today, blackened and heavy, are relics of a system that converted anonymous animals into property and wages. Branding day was a craft and a ritual, and the iron was the instrument that secured a ranch's livelihood on a landscape that otherwise rewarded the fastest hands. Number 3, hatchet. The hatchet is the small, fast wood tool that kept a camp functional. A cowboy needed to split kindling, fashion poles, free tack caught in brush, break ice at troughs, and clear a safe fire ring quickly. Jobs where a hatchet outranked an axe for speed and portability. Trail hatchets had narrow bits with stout handles, ready to be swung repeatedly under adverse conditions. Riders wrapped heads in rawhide to prevent rubbing on the saddle horn and to protect the edge during travel. Without a hatchet, you couldn't clear a safe space to build a fire in tall grass, you couldn't free a trapped horse quickly, and you lost the chance to make a shelter before a storm. One Kansas note tells of a cook forced to burn greasy leather because a hatchet was missing after rain. a vivid image of how essential woodcutting was to feeding and surviving. The chipped blades and darkened handles in ranch collections show the hatchet's relentless work, quick, brutal, and practical. In short, camp depends on wood, and wood requires a hatchet to shape fast when weather turns. Number 2, Whetstone. A sharp blade is a safe and effective blade, and the whetstone is the tool that keeps knives honest. Novaculite, Arkansas stone, or simple pocket whetstones were carried in a greased cloth roll or saddlebag so a cowboy could touch up a blade midday. Sharpening was not vanity. Dull steel tears and slips, which is how hands get cut and repairs take longer. A quick stropping by the creek or a midday grind kept belt knives, farrier knives, and hatchets ready to cleanly slice rawhide, cut rope, and open feed sacks. Trail journals frequently mention men taking a pause to edge their knives after heavy cutting, a small ritual that saved time and injury across days of hard work. One 1886 Roundup entry tells of a man who sliced his hand badly because his blade was blunt and the leather resisted. A cautionary tale. Whetstones survive in tool rolls and drawers as worn, unequal rocks with hollowed centers from years of use. For a cowboy, carrying a stone was a small redundancy that prevented big problems. Keep the edge sharp, and tools perform instead of becoming hazards. Number 1, Canteen. If a canteen fails, everything else becomes an afterthought. Water rules the trail. A cowboy might miss a meal and keep moving, but without water, he didn't last long. Canteens were simple, tin or wooden bodies, sometimes wrapped in canvas or wool to reduce evaporation and protect the metal. Sizes varied, a quart or two, but every rider kept one close. A full canteen allowed a man to push through a hot drive, give a horse a drink at a scarce tank, rinse a wound, or wet a bandage to stop infection. Trail bosses deliberately rationed water during long dry stretches, and diaries record men conserving sips and miscounting the horses when a tank dried up. When straps snapped or leaks opened, a man could be in serious trouble. A 1877 diary recounts a cowboy collapsing within 2 hours after his canteen strap failed and he lost his water in rough country. Surviving canteens in ranch houses are dented, patched, and faded. They bear strap scars from constant use. The canteen is the marginally humble, but unequivocal life tool. Food feeds you, but water determines how far you can go. 10 tools, 10 pieces of iron, wood, leather, and rope. Not fashioned for photos, but for work. The West wasn't survived by the fastest draw. It was survived by the man whose kit kept functioning when everything else threatened to fail. A dry spark, a hot pot, a stitched cinch, a sharp blade, and a full canteen. If you want more honest, artifact-backed stories from the frontier, like this video, share it with someone who loves real history, and subscribe to see the next deep dive. Thanks for watching. We'll dig deeper next time. Found this useful? Share it, smash that like, and subscribe. Forged and Forgotten. More forgotten frontier tools and primary source stories drop weekly.